the actor who plays, I know he's the voiceover in the animated series, but the actor who plays Thrawn is awful.
But he basically says, I thought it was beyond you to underestimate a Jedi. Death and resurrection are common deceptions played out by Night Sister and Jedi.
He was telling a story from years ago about people in his galaxy, and he was referring to the galaxy that they live in.
Like, ooh, the guys that you think are the bad guys, they're left, and they're gonna align with the good guys because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like, it's been done.
He says this stuff was told, and I thought it was a myth. They say that. We all thought it was myth.
If by the end of the season he does something that's blow away, I'll give him his due. Right now, I'm kind of on board with you, but you know what? Fair is fair. You and I both said the same thing about Ellie from Last of Us.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Lee.
My name is Chuck.
I think I'm Will.
Why are we so unsure?
I didn't know that we were starting right like at that moment.
Well, I said, let's go. Hey everybody. Hey everybody in podcast world. Anyway.
Podcast world.
Podcast world.
It's like Disneyland and Disney World.
That's right. Podcast land.
Okay.
Podcast.
Sure,
Yes.
we can do that. We can do that.
We can do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm still sticking with mine. Listen, it's funny. The funniest thing, Will, is you have this mirror behind you, and we see us on your mirror every single week.
Yeah.
I see this massive delay of my fingers
Well,
just
I have
pointing, and
you here, and I have you here, and you can see you there, and
this is great, wonderful. Yep.
Okay.
So here we are talking about another episode of Ahsoka. As he would say. This is episode 6 of this season of Ahsoka. I say this season because I don't know where they're going. Honestly, I have no idea where they're going with this. And I think that's kind of cool. It's almost how I felt about The Force Awakens when they first made that. I'm like, we're finally going into new territory where the story, we don't know where it ends. When they did episode 1, 2, and 3, we knew that it's eventually going to lead into episode 4. But now, even though we've seen the sequel trilogy, they're going into a new galaxy, and that just opens up everything, and we have no idea. It could.
They're going back.
It has. They might be, but they're also opening up new opportunities to make all that stuff irrelevant.
So I do want to say one thing. You said that they opened up the new galaxy to retcon the sequel trilogy.
Not retcon, just ignore.
Well, it doesn't.
It doesn't. No.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It has the potential to.
No, it doesn't, because that still
yes,
happened.
It does.
This is it.
Oh, yes, it does. It has the potential.
Retcon.
It has the potential to just retcon or erase everything.
Not erase or retcon. It's more just like, we don't care.
There was a guy. What's his name?
Thrawn?
What's his name? No, the other guy. The Jedi.
Ezra.
The old Jedi.
No,
Balin's
the Sith.
Skull?
Balin.
Oh, Balin's Skull. Yeah.
Balin. Balin. You have him here, and he's talking about how this is a mythical place and blah, 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 and a whole bunch of nonsense. It was a thing of... What did he say? It was a thing of story and...
Power?
No, he said something else.
And...
He said something else.
Yeah.
Like, this is a story of myth and long gone and everything else, and it was a story that you told kids.
Yeah.
This is a mythical place that they're in. Like, he said it.
They're in a different galaxy.
Yeah.
But just because they're in a different galaxy doesn't mean that what happened in the other galaxy didn't still happen.
No.
Yeah, but you don't have to go back to the other galaxy. You can stay in this one where you can just make everything anew.
Right, and that's my whole point here. I will say this though, before I get into anything with this episode, which
Anakin can walk out of the
far
fog.
away, far away. I'm very happy. Far away. I actually really enjoyed the drop and even the title of it. Totally fine with that, because it's another galaxy.
It was Peter Griffin in the movie theater. It was Peter Griffin in the movie theater going, I said it.
I'm gonna go back and apologize to you, Chuck. So I'm apologizing. This is public. It's real. It's happening. Okay, it's not a dream. All right. The world between worlds. Yes, it is a thing. What Anakin is still kind of up in the air. I can't totally say they somehow pulled him out, because the reality is he had the knowledge of Anakin after Luke saved him.
Mhm.
So therefore, not really sure what they're doing with that. But the reality is that the real place that she was transported to, it was not as Christmas carol-y as I thought. Reason I agree, I went back and watched a lot of Rebels
Okay.
with my kids. And I'm like, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. Okay. And my daughters and I got to watch through Ahsoka. They're not caught up like I am. They've only watched 2 episodes.
You know, I don't want to put you down, Chuck. I've known you for 30 years. You've never apologized to me for anything. You just kind of hang up the phone and you don't talk to me for 2 weeks. That's your version of
Chuck?
apology.
He said Chuck.
He did say Chuck. Okay.
Yes.
You've known me for 30. You've known me for 30 years.
No, whatever.
You meant Lee.
Lee. You know what
You
I
said
meant.
Chuck.
I said I don't want to put you down, Chuck. I said I don't want to put you down. However, I've known you talking about Lee. I'm done.
Wow.
Move on.
Wow. I feel special.
You should.
Oh, you're special, all right.
I'm just waiting for one. I just can't wait for the one. I'm sorry. You were right.
Not gonna happen.
I owe you $100.
Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
They're both dead. They're both going to be like Drew and Uncle Owen, just ashen skeletons.
If
in the beginning of the next episode, it's going to open up.
If season 2 opens up and they're both just dead, no one owes anybody any money, because that's something that neither one of us saw coming.
Watch it because it's 2 years later. Watch it be like. How back in the day when you used to watch like the TV shows started in the fall and ended in the spring.
Oh yeah.
And then they would do like the first episode of the season with the finale of like the end of the finale of last season, and then the following episode was like 3 months later.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Watch it be 2 years later. Now they're living together. They have a kid who's like a year old. They're married.
They're eating cereal in the morning.
She's pouring him Cocoa Puffs.
And he's smiling.
No, she moved in with him, and he's still living with mom.
Mom's there just shaking her head.
I'll gladly take the $200, but I'll hate it just as much as you do. That would be so stupid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, though, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Anyway.
I don't make bets I'm not 100% sure about.
So let me just kind of give you guys background. So those of you who are listening who've watched Rebels and Clone Wars stuff like that, there's a lot of really cool things I looked into just the past few weeks, because things go completely under the radar when you watch, especially when you binge like I did with Clone Wars and Rebels, because there was so much. I mean, there were like 10 years of Clone Wars and 4 seasons of Rebels, and each season was like a lot of episodes. It was like 100 and something episodes of each thing that I watched. It was nuts. Yeah, altogether, it was nuts. So I went through it, and I picked up on some of the stuff I've seen before. Now, one of the cooler things was, and I mentioned this before, when we watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we had that battle scene between he and Vader, and he sliced half his mask off. Well, in the Rebel show, which I brought up at that time, the other half of the mask was actually sliced off by Ahsoka, and they had that whole like she could hear his voice, and they did that like mix between Vader's voice and Anakin's voice. Yeah. It was in the show. I rewatched it again a couple of times, and it was spot on. It did a really good job. The actor who played Anakin in Clone Wars fit right in, and they had that weird mechanical type of overlay on the voice. And then they did that in season 2 of Rebels, and then in season 4 of Rebels, the end. Ezra Bridger, who we meet at the end of this episode finally, he's the main character basically in all of Rebels. He's just this young kid, and then at one point he grows up, cuts his hair off and everything. I really appreciate that they paid attention to detail, and he has these 2 scars on his face. I forgot who he battled, if it was Maul or whoever. I don't think it was Maul. Maul is awesome in Rebels, and I heard whispers that Sam Witwer, who does his voice in the animated series, he also was the main character in The Force Unleashed. Not sure if you guys have played that game, but Sam Witwer is like the actual actor that they mocapped to do that.
Cool.
He there's talks about him coming back and doing a Thrawn series that fills in the gaps that were missing between Solo and Rebels, which I'd be for it because his character really was totally underutilized and a massive joke. I know I'm kind of going off on a rant here, but just like kind of catching you guys up with some Rebel stuff. But we see later on in season 4 where Ezra goes into this portal. It's a legit portal that looks similar to what we saw in the Ahsoka episode where she sees Anakin. It was more like just like straight lines, not like blue paths, but like lines that were drawn out. And he was actually going from portal to portal, as opposed to what we saw here, which was just like a bunch of tracks and no portals. She just kind of showed up. There were no doors or anything like that. Ezra goes in, walks around until he sees Ahsoka in a portal fighting with Vader, and then he yanks her out, which you read about in the thing you pulled out. Yanks her out because she was about to die, and that's how she survives and actually is around for this episode. Right before she got pulled out, she smashed the floor, and Vader fell down, and Vader somehow got back up, whatever. But she gets pulled out, and that's how she continues her storyline later on. It all matches up. It all lines up. It all makes sense. It's kind of really cool. She gets pulled off. He sends her into another portal. He goes off on his own thing. That's the last time they see each other. The last time we see him, he basically gets the Purgle to come take him and Thrawn's entire ship, which hopefully is called the Chimera. I know it was in the original Thrawn trilogy. Takes him and the Chimera and brings them to this planet of Peridia, which I'm sorry, I'm going on forever here. There's so much lore here that it's just nuts. But one of my biggest issues with the episode, I'm going to say, I guess I'm going first, is it's to talk about Peridia, which is weird. It's the first time that we hear that the Dathomiri, these witches, they're, Dathomiri witches, because we know Dathomir as Darth Maul was Dathomiris from Dathomir, and all the other characters, Sauvage and everybody else that came up that were Dathomiri. They were originally from this planet and then migrated to Dathomir. That was never a thing before, but it explains a lot more about how there was something, I forgot where, which book or in which story, Darth Sidious, we know as Emperor Palpatine, was saying there's another, like, I'm feeling a power coming from something beyond, and he kept on trying to find this power from somewhere beyond. He's referring to this galaxy. And it's Peridia, where there's this source that Baylan Skoll is now talking about here. And it's like, okay, they're tying all these things together. What?
The source?
The source. Yes.
They found the source?
They found the
it.
source.
They found it.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
And we get in this episode, Baylan Skoll is saying, Shin was like, they're all trying to flee this place. And he goes, yeah, well, that's because there's probably a power that they're just afraid of. But I feel it calling to me. And I'm like, ooh. Which, again, makes me start to wonder, like, he never says they're Sith. And they kind of have this, like, uneasy, like, we're not evil, but we're also not Jedi. So who are we? Are they finally the Grey Walkers that we've been waiting to see, like, introduced? They're just people who are Force sensitive. They're able to use these abilities, but they don't align themselves with Sith or Jedi, or the witches here.
Well, they are off to kill Sabine now, so.
Yeah, but they also have, which we get here, Admiral Thrawn and whoever else, his troops out to kill them too. Like, we want to get out of here. Go ahead and kill them too. We don't care.
Or they'll just leave them there, and they'll all go back with Ahsoka.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Thrawn and the crew are going to leave everybody behind. All right, you know what? They had their chance to kill it. They didn't do it. You know what? We're leaving. They're there. Goodbye. And then Ahsoka's going to come in on the giant whale, and they'll find a way to get home. That's exactly how this is going to play out.
The reason why I'm concerned about it and I'm confused is we all know that Ray Stevenson has passed away, and we're not going to see him again after this series. Like, this is the last thing I think he shot before he passed away.
Okay.
It just came out. Like, it's just coming out now, and he passed away like a year ago, or almost a year ago. So they're clearly not going to bring his character back. So they're going to somehow.
I would not be so certain. I would not be so certain about that. James
You
Earl
think they're gonna
Jones
recast
gave
him?
Disney a lifetime license to use his voice.
Voice. Yeah, great. His character can't be just a voice right now. Not right now. His character is still young enough where, and her character is way young. Like she's very naive. Shin.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
I'm not.
Sorry.
Grandma Tarkin looked like garbage.
No, he didn't. He actually, I did not think he looked like garbage in that. He actually looked
His
halfway
dead eyes,
decent.
his dead CG eyes.
But that was what?
Ruined it.
That was what? How many years ago now?
Doesn't matter. Jurassic Park looked better.
It was how many?
The point is, if
It was
you
how
think that
many-
the point is, if you think that Disney is not going to use a
Disney-
dead guy moving forward, you're very naive.
They will, but it's not going to be as heavy as he would have been if he was still alive. They're going to use it sparingly, which is going to not carry the story the way they wanted to. They're going to have to rewrite things in a way to only use them a little bit,
Or
like they did with Carrie Fisher.
Or they just replaced the actor.
Can't see them doing that. I mean, I understand Rhodey. Nah.
And
Well,
Rhodey's a bigger
hold
character.
on,
And
hold
Rhodey was a
on.
bigger character than this guy.
Well, he's a bigger character now. He was barely a character in the first movie.
And this guy's barely a character now.
But he's
there's a big difference between somebody who passed away and Terrence Howard who did something to piss somebody off and got fired. There's a huge difference here. So
he just wanted more money. Oh, maybe there's more to it.
there's a little bit more to it than that.
Whatever. I mean, I know him as the bad guy in Big Mama's house before that.
Sure, but I'm just saying,
Great.
there's a big difference.
Okay.
So, Will, your thoughts?
About this episode?
Yeah.
It was exactly
About
what I
last-
thought. It was exactly what I thought. Last week I said, this episode's going to be a lot of crap, and that's exactly what I got, was a lot of crap and a lot of exposition, and a lot of laying the groundwork for what I think is going to happen next. They are going to leave them there. They are going to hitch a ride back to wherever they got to go with Ahsoka, or however things are going to play out. Like and just the way that it's set up is kind of cliche. Like, ooh, the guys that you think are the bad guys, they're left, and they're gonna align with the good guys because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like it's been done. It's been done a million times, and you can see it coming from a mile away. And
like basically Tusken Raiders in this galaxy. They weren't anything spectacular.
what are you talking about?
You talking about the enemy, my enemy? That was those Tusken Raider dudes that she fought in the.
No, I'm not
desert.
talking about them. I'm talking about Balin and his apprentice, along with
Yeah.
Ahsoka and whatever, and the other girl out there who's getting back together with her old friend, like them. Like they're all going to come together. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, and Thrawn is the enemy. This
Yeah, but he doesn't know
is
that Thrawn's the
plain as
enemy at that
day.
I know what he's saying is
I
he's
know.
using the line that he used in the show about
The Tusken Raider characters.
that's what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I suppose.
You suppose?
I don't know. I
It
don't
is
feel like they're
pretty
that smart.
blatant. It's pretty. This is thick. It's pretty heavy-handed. Oh, they go away. They go okay. So they go away to kill her or whoever else that they have to kill, and then as soon as their back is turned, that's when Thrawn is like, "Yeah, well, if they can't do it, we'll take care of them too, and we're leaving." Like it's pretty. The conclusion to that is being served to you right now on a silver platter. I feel like it. That's exactly what happened. And the whole thing with Ahsoka inside the mouth of a whale traveling in light speed to another galaxy is ridiculous.
That was the end of the last episode.
I
We've already
know-
moved on.
That was the beginning of
No,
this
she's
episode.
still. It's her. She's in the mouth of the
I
whale
know
the
she
entire
is. I'm
episode.
just saying it's not shocking at this point. Like we already
It's-
ended with that.
I
being
just
the
think-
thing we're seeing here.
I just think the visual
Can I
of
tell you?
it is stupid. It's so
Okay.
stupid.
Can I tell you?
And I know you like the line "far, far away." I thought it was.
Oh,
I thought it was dumb. You don't need to do that.
it made perfect sense.
You don't need
For
to.
once, they could quote it, and it made sense.
No, it doesn't.
It does. They're going
makes
to a
absolutely
galaxy
no sense.
far, far away.
You want to know why it makes no?
They are tugging on your nostalgia strings. That's all that line
No.
was. That is,
Well,
that's
they
fan
are,
service.
but they're also referring to a galaxy that for them was far, far away.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. He was telling a story from years ago about people in his galaxy, and he was referring to the galaxy that they live in, the one that we know is
Galaxy
far, far away. Not
Episode 1
No.
being the best.
No.
where would he have a story from far, far away from?
Because they were talking about this before, because he was the one who told them all stories of these myths about Peridia and another galaxy. They all said they'd heard about it. Baylan Skoll was talking about how he heard about it back when he was in the Jedi Temple from Hu Yang and others that were telling these stories. That was the whole point, to give them a basis for it. And that's the whole point. That's why he's talking about there's something calling me back here, something that's familiar, something that's calling him back.
Right.
That's why there's
That's
a
Baylan.
story there.
That's Baylan.
Yes.
That's Baylan's story.
Exactly.
What does that have to
Baylan's
do with
story.
the droid?
Hu Yang was in the Jedi Temple teaching the young Jedi,
And
the Padawans.
and
And he
what
was
does that
the one
have
who
to do
told them the
with
myth.
the droid telling a story about a galaxy far, far away? The line. I'm
droid-
talking about
droid
the
told
line.
story. The droid told the story.
Good
to
for the
Baylan
droid that told the
at
story.
one point.
No, he's saying that Hu Yang told the story to Baylan, and now he's telling the same story to Ahsoka.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
I still don't care.
The galaxy far, far away. This is where it started, and then it gets into the history of their galaxy.
I thought it was stupid.
I thought it
Now,
was
I'm gonna
nostalgia.
ask-
I thought it was nostalgia. I thought it was fan service.
It was, but it was also really relevant, and it made sense.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Fine, whatever. Argue with me. Now, part 1 being the best. What are they talking about?
They're talking about Phantom Menace.
Not-
Because they're
No.
talking about this galaxy.
No.
They said
That's garbage.
episode 1 being
There
the
are so
best.
many- there are so many stories before that. So
Episode
you're
1
thinking
being
they're
the
talking
best.
specifically about the movies.
In a galaxy
this
far,
galaxy.
hang on, in a galaxy far, far away, in episode
Oh.
1 being the best. What is the first thing that we see in every single Star Wars movie? In
A galaxy far, far away.
a long time
Episode
ago, in a
one.
galaxy far, far away, episode 1. That is the first thing you
That
see.
is a slap in the face to all of us, though. if
No,
that's
it's
the
not.
case. Oh boy.
No, it's
Okay.
not. No, it's not. It's not. It's not a slap in the face. If you're
Episode
doing,
1 being the best. You
It's
see
not
something,
a-
boy. What is it?
it's not a
ahead.
slap in the face. It's not a slap in the face. If you were kind of on board with this in previous things that we were doing, we were talking about Mandalorian and we were talking about Andor, of them, the idea that maybe the prequels got a lot of unjust love. Maybe
was
some
too
of that history needs to be rewritten a little bit. Just maybe. Just maybe. This has been happening for a while.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm with Chuck. I thought it was fan service. I thought it was tugging on your nostalgia strings, and I thought it was stupid. It did not have to be there. It could have. The purpose could have been served if Baylan delivered that message, not the droid hanging out with Ahsoka in the mouth of a whale. I'm sorry.
Why would that be any different? Why would that be any different?
Because it makes the line even more stupid. They are in a mouth of a whale traveling at light speed, and he goes, I'm going to tell you a story about a galaxy far, far away, and it's the best being episode 1. It is... I don't know how you don't see this.
She didn't say episode 1. She's the first part.
First part,
But-
episode 1, what's the difference?
Hey, I'm thinking when I think of the first part, I think episode 4.
That's not the
That's
first
the
part.
first part.
That's not the first part
the fir-
anymore.
It's the first part.
No, it's
for
not.
us.
The first part is episode 1.
No, that's the first episode.
No, that's the... Stop.
That's the first part.
In the story of Anakin, which this entire saga is centered around, episode 1, Phantom Menace,
Oh.
is part 1.
They're gonna do a prequel to that.
So-
That shows
so-
how Shmi became, pregnant.
so listen to this. This is from independent.co.uk. So some
co.uk. Represent Europe.
Yeah, the latest episode of Star Wars spin-off Ahsoka might have retroactively changed the meaning of one of the franchise's signature traditions. Retroactively.
Yep.
Retroactively.
Uh-huh.
That is going to be a word that we are going to talk about a lot in the coming years when talking
Ever
about
since
this.
Ever since the very first Star Wars film, Episode 4: A New Hope, entries in the main Star Wars saga have always begun with an opening crawl, a block of text that scrolls upward across the screen, introducing the audience to the characters and situations they are about to witness.
Absolutely.
There has never been a canonical explanation for the crawls, with the fourth wall breaking device instead being a means of directly addressing the audience and providing necessary context. However, the last episode of Ahsoka has prompted some fans to wonder whether there might be an in-universe reason for the crawls after all. In episode 6 of the Disney show titled Far, Far Away, Ahsoka Tano Rosario Dawson is seen talking to Hu Yang, and an accident droid who formerly worked the Jedi Order. Hu Yang begins relaying a detailed account of history to Ahsoka, which describes as a 3-part history of the galaxy. He's talking about 4, 5, and 6. He's talking about but he's talking about the galaxy that they are in, not the galaxy that they're going to. So you're wrong. You can apologize again in public if you want.
He won't.
He won't. He begins the story with the phrase, "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." The very same phrase that begins every
Far
film
away from
in
what?
Skywalker.
Far away from what?
From us.
From us?
Yes.
Why would he be talking to us?
Because,
he's talking to her.
but he's
which means another galaxy.
What
It
they're
makes
saying-
sense.
So maybe he's talking about us. Listen, Ahsoka. In another galaxy, in 1977, we were a really big deal. Let me tell you.
What they go on to say is
talking about us.
What they go on to say is Hu Yang is actually their fourth wall break is actually Hu Yang. The crawl is actually Hu Yang telling the story of the Skywalker saga to everybody. But you think it's all about this new galaxy that everyone's talking.
And you know what? Another thing too.
It's
incredibly
talking about where the Force powers or whatever.
It's incredibly apropos. It's incredibly apropos that Chuck just read that, and this is an episode after Anakin.
After, yeah.
I'm just saying.
But far, far away from them would make sense.
Sure. If you want,
they were talking about where they're going, and he goes, "Let's go from the beginning here."
It was old.
In a galaxy far, far away.
No, he was telling her the story of Anakin,
which is not a galaxy far, far away. It's the galaxy that they're currently in or leaving.
I know, but he's doing it in story form, so he's just narrating in a galaxy
which
far.
Makes sense. No sense to me. If I was to tell you, I'm just like, in a land far, far away from here, which was like 10 minutes down the road. I'm sorry.
You've never told a story to your kids where you've actually made up in a time far away on a dark and stormy night when it's like sunny out, and you're having a story talking to your kids because you're just telling the story. And he's saying,
when I was a kid, I walked to school uphill both ways.
He's telling her the story of Anakin.
If that's the case,
you even have Balin later on in the episode saying that they were stories of myth.
Yes, in a galaxy far, far away.
Myth.
No.
This is still it's a fourth wall break. It's a myth.
He called it
because none of this is real. The Force is not real. There is no Anakin. Like, none of this is real. It is.
He says this stuff was told, and I thought it was a myth.
Okay.
They say that. We all thought it was myth.
Well, guess what? Thrawn is about to leave him on that planet, and he's going to fly away, and he's going to find out what's real and what's a myth.
It's not myth.
There you go.
It's a galaxy far, far away, and not myth.
That they can travel to. That they can travel to in the mouth of a whale.
Now, what I don't understand, this is my question, my concern.
That goes.
Ezra got there by whale. Okay.
That travels at light speed.
Yes. He got there by space whale.
Yep.
Star whale.
Yep.
Purgle.
Yeah.
To be exact. That is how Ahsoka's getting there. Why couldn't he get back by Star Whale?
Well, they explain that in this episode too, that they go there
What,
to die.
To die?
It is a graveyard. The rings
Yeah,
are
but he
made
could
of
ask the
bone,
knight-
which I actually thought was really cool. The visual of the rings made of bone and the dust and everything traveling around the planet, it was a really
Yeah,
cool
that makes
visual.
sense.
That was a
that-
really cool visual. That I don't have a problem with that. They explain that away. How come they couldn't get back? Well, they go there to die. That's okay. Here's all the bones. Fantastic. How you gonna get back?
I do appreciate that Ahsoka's in her ship the entire time. And not on it.
Well, that's because Hu Yang told her to come back in. What are you doing? Get in here!
Maybe,
Uh,
you know, hey, here's an idea of how they can get back. Maybe Anakin will open a doorway and they'll just be able to walk right through back into you see, and I'm half joking and the two of you are like mouths agape right now. And I'm realizing that it's possible.
Now it's a possibility.
Now it's possible, isn't it?
No resurrections this time.
So when I do remember now when I did see that episode of Rebels, I was like, they just like made him the most powerful being in the world.
He wasn't that before you saw Rebels?
Ezra?
Oh, Ezra. I thought you were talking about Anakin.
Yeah,
so I'm
Ezra
sorry.
walked into this place, and in that episode, the Emperor sees him through the portal, and he's like, Ezra, and I almost said Ezra Miller. Ezra Bridger, I see you. And he starts like shooting like blue fire at him, and then reaching through trying to grab him so he can pull him in. Because the Emperor felt this power and something that he had no access to, but somehow Ezra Bridger did, and he was trying to use Ezra to give him that power to be in that world between worlds.
Is the power gonna be Darth Plagueis?
I don't know.
It's gonna be Anakin.
I honestly have no idea what they're doing here. Like, that's
Anakin
why
has
I'm so
returned.
lost. I'm so lost. I
If
have no
the
idea what
power
they're doing.
is Anakin, I quit.
Well, he does. He is the balance of the Force.
That's what I said last week.
I know.
Yeah. No,
This is why
listen.
I wasn't a fan.
Listen, no, we're not going back to that. I'm just saying, like, if they go further with it, like that far with it, I don't know. My whole hang up right now is just you have Balin. I'm sorry, I keep saying Baylor because I got Game of Thrones in the mind. I apologize. You have Balon, who's basically saying this place was a place of myth, and I feel the power, and blah 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 blah. If I swear, like, a giant alien head needs to like come out of the ground and do something for me to be shocked. Nothing else will amaze me.
Is an aliens
That would be
head.
a crossover.
What
Crossover?
The
Mythosaur?
thing from Mandalorian yes
Mythosaur?
from Mandalorian 3 is gonna come out.
No.
That would be a way to
Three.
bring that story back around.
Yeah.
That would be a way to bring that story back around.
I mean, we never saw it.
And it makes
Talk
no
about
sense.
We saw it die.
Talk about a plot point that was just dropped for no reason.
No, it's because
Guess
Bo-Katan's gonna
what?
ride on it.
What else happened? All right,
Like a
so
panther.
Panta. Yes.
okay, now in stories, in any kind of story, any kind of novel, anything like this, the good guys always find a way to get the upper hand, and the bad guys are always the dummy because they do something to give the good guys the upper hand. And Thrawn did this in this episode when he let her go. So, he let her
Thrawn-
go.
The thing about Thrawn, and
Tell
it's
me
really
he's an
weird.
idiot. If you tell me he's an idiot, I'm gonna forgive this.
No. Thrawn is an absolute genius,
So-
and in everything I read about him. Now, a little different in Rebels and stuff like that, but again, I go back to the original Thrawn trilogy back in the early '90s. Such a great trilogy. He was always like miles ahead of everybody else. You know, when he'd learn things, he goes, interesting. But he already had like some knowledge of it, and he was just like piecing everything together. And then at the end, there was just one thing that he just didn't see, and that's how he died. And I'm like, I don't know. After everything else I saw, I'm surprised he didn't see that coming.
Fantastic.
And it's kind of how it ended. And I'm like, okay.
Fantastic.
But here, I mean, we're talking live action. How powerful are they going to make Thrawn in a live action scenario? I really don't know. The other question I have here is, okay, the Night Sisters, at least these three here, okay, the Dathmiri Night Sisters, whatever you want to call them, the witches, which, I mean, if you notice, Shin was very concerned. She's like, more witches. Great. Okay. Like, she's very young, very like young, has
Yeah.
no idea, inexperienced, has no idea what's going on. And again, makes me really feel that there's no, like, they're not Sith. They're definitely not Sith. He never says it. They say, we're something else. I trained you to be something else.
She's still
He
kind of
says these
power
lines.
hungry.
He is power
No,
hungry, but he's not a Sith.
She is power hungry.
She is. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're led by the dark and the light side.
Sure.
Reality. That's what's going on here. But you've got these witches. They recognize there's a Jedi here. I'm sorry, but Sabine has
who are they talking
no
about?
Power.
That's what I thought too.
Sabine has no power.
None at all.
And they're like, her. And I'm like, not Balin?
Really?
Not Balin? Really not Balin?
We're on the same page now.
Fine.
We are absolutely on the same page now. This made no sense at all why they took her away.
Never mind. Well, because she was the one in handcuffs. That's why. But then, never mind the fact that Ezra Bridger's been there for 10 years.
Yeah, that's another
and
thing.
They're like, oh, something's here. I'm like, wait. So Thrawn, with the help of the Night Sisters, couldn't find Ezra Bridger, who's been there the entire time? Never mind the fact that they landed on the planet at the exact same time, on the same ship, by the same exact means. And somehow, the Night Sisters couldn't find him, and he's just hanging out with the snail people?
So now I'm on
what do we got here?
I can't.
Is that
a
picture of him?
Sure. So now I'm on the whole thing. Now I'm on a whole thing right now where I'm looking at Thrawn saying, okay, you are kind of an idiot. Because why do you continue to listen to these three witches if they couldn't help you find Ezra?
I saw. Okay, different skin color, funky eyes. I understand that, but when did that come out? Around the same time as Thrawn.
What?
Next Generation.
Late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, exactly. Same time as Thrawn. So you can't really sit there and blame him. Thrawn looks exactly like this in the books. Like, he's described specifically like this.
Okay.
I mean, he's a little bit older here because he did a voice, and now they're putting him in live action, so he's a little jowly, so he's not as angular as he was described. But I mean, spot on with the eyes and the skin tone and the hair, identical. So, I was gonna say though, it's strange that they couldn't figure out Ezra's there, but okay, where are we gonna go with it? I thought it was interesting. They pulled out their balls and started like putting them around her and like capturing her, and they're like, take it into the dungeon or whatever. I'm just like,
solitude,
okay,
or whatever she said.
It does what it's told. It puts the lotion on the skin. Like, the fact that they're referring to the Jedi as an it, I was like, wow, what a way to show their disdain for a Jedi. Put it over here. It's like, oh, okay. It will wait in solitude. Okay.
That would be an interesting story if they actually told a story from a perspective that wasn't from like the Jedi alone, so you could kind of understand like why the whole galaxy seems to really not like them all that much. Like everywhere you go, it's like, oh, you're a Jedi. Like, it's like, oh, great.
Again, we're watching something done by Filoni, and Ahsoka left the Jedi Order because, although they seem like they were supposed to be peacekeepers, as we saw in the last episode going through some of the Clone Wars stuff, they weren't really peacekeepers. They were just soldiers saying they were fighting for good. And we're seeing kind of the back and forth of like the good guys, the bad guys, like, well, who really is the good guy and the bad guy here?
Mm-hmm.
When the Jedi start to lose their way, people start leaving. And that's what Ahsoka did. Ahsoka was one of the few who said, this is ridiculous, I'm out of here, that didn't just go ahead and join the Sith like Dooku. Dooku felt the exact same way, but left and joined the Sith. Ahsoka left and just did her own thing.
Sure.
So she was still kind of like, using the light side of the Force and not going full dark, or even really towards the dark.
You can explain it all you want to. I still think it would be an interesting story.
Oh, absolutely.
So there is that.
Yeah. No? Okay, cool. So, I know we don't go through our old formula of going step by step and one by one, but we got that character Barack that we saw who just turned to smoke when he got sliced.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember him?
Yeah.
who was like, you know, a really great fighter, and then suddenly just got sliced
Poof.
and then turned to smoke, poof.
Literally, poof.
There's a line in here where Thrawn says at the very end, he basically says, let me pull it up here so I have it direct. He says, "Great mothers, I will once again require your dark magic." Okay, so once again, I don't remember him really working anywhere in Rebels with the Night Sisters, which makes me believe. Now, this is I read some. I looked into it because I was thinking like something seems weird here, and other people have the same theory.
I have a question about this. I have a
Okay,
question
go
about
ahead.
this line.
Yeah.
Did this line come before or after he asked to know about Ahsoka and everything that she was and her master?
Immediately after.
Okay.
Immediately after.
Okay.
Because I want to know about
There you
Ahsoka's
go.
background, history, and master, and then he says, "I once again require your dark magic."
That's it. There you go. Okay.
Okay. The reason
That
why I
doesn't
bring
make
it
me
up.
happy.
The reason I bring it up is what's up with these stormtroopers. So we get from him, he says a line like, you know, it's been tough here,
They're
living in
They're
exile.
clone troopers.
They might be. If it's true, that's awesome because that's what the original trilogy was about. Or, you know, Thrawn trilogy was him finding the Sparty cylinders and creating.
Well, his ship
new
during the
clones.
Rebels, got sent there with his army, and I'm guessing stormtroopers weren't around yet. It was all clone troopers then, correct?
No, there were stormtroopers at that point. At that point in Rebels, yeah, there were stormtroopers.
Stormtrooper.
What was there more
Clone
of?
trooper.
There were more. I guess there were more stormtroopers because
To
the
me,
clones.
it looked like clone troopers because each of their
Keep this going. I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah.
each of their uniforms had a different mark to tell you who was who,
Yeah.
including the gladiator face,
Enoch.
which I thought was dumb.
So here's what I'm gonna get into now. You bring up the character Enoch. I don't know if they ever said his name, but if you watch it with subtitles, it says Enoch. What do we know about Enoch? The guy basically came as close to death as you could without actually dying, right? Was that the whole thing? Remind me.
He was
biblically?
taken up. Yeah.
Yeah. So Enoch was taken up. Didn't actually die, but he was taken up. So there's a theory going out there, and it's not far off, that these troopers are all that's left, and because they're actually an undead army. And Enoch being the leader of them, he even says in that line in there later on, "Die well." All of it kind of plays to this whole army that he has there are those that, you know, either died and were resurrected in a sense, or came very close to death and were somehow resustained. They're held together by threads of what looks like the Night Sisters' garments, the red ribbons, kind of hold them together. And also, which is really cool, and this is something from is it Greek or Roman, where if a vase broke, they would put gold in it to fill those cracks to show like new life, and now it's more value because it has a history. They did that in all the armor of all of these troopers. Now we saw this again where something was redone with Solo there, Kylo Ren. He had like the red stuff kind of filling the cracks. This is actually gold that they have here, and it's really really cool to see this. So all these troopers have been broken. Hey, it's us again. All these troopers have been broken, and then they're redone, like made anew. You know, so it's like all of this kind of lines up with them being some kind of undead army, and I kind of like that. I think it's kind of cool.
It would be cool if it wasn't Star Wars.
If it wasn't Star Wars, exactly. So it's like, okay, time travel, time and space, okay, and now an army of undead because they're bringing in witches.
Witches I'm fine with.
Witches, yeah.
Because you got the Force, you got, you know, there's other mystical beings out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, others will be able to manipulate the Force based off of whatever their belief system is. You've got the light side, the dark side. One big thing that comes up, and it's huge in the Rebels thing. I mean, it comes back up again in Rebels when it was in the Clone Wars originally. Was there was the father, the son, and the daughter, that made up like the light side, the dark side, and then just like the source of the Force was a really interesting way of doing it. And that was that one where Anakin goes and meets them and then gets shown who he becomes, and he sees Darth Vader and he freaks out, and then something happens where like it wipes his memory so he doesn't remember, and he just kind of goes on with his life. And I'm going, oh, that was so cool. He was finally getting revelation of who he was to become, and then they wiped it out. It was still cool though. It was definitely one of the coolest episodes I'll never forget. I mean, the basic idea, I don't remember it in detail.
That you'll never forget.
I mean, I'll never forget that it happened.
You'll never remember it.
Yeah. So that was cool. I mean, the whole Thrawn, the troopers coming in, or troopers as it comes in, just chanting his name. Like, okay.
So I haven't really said much this entire conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share a little before we'll get back.
Do it.
I was not a fan of Thrawn. I know that he's a voiceover for the animated series, but he looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
He does not look threatening at all.
Right.
He is not. When you're thinking Grand Admiral, you're thinking
big deal.
Big deal.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's blue. Straight out of the Blue Man Group with red eyes and some hair.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about Thrawn. And when I didn't watch the animated series, but when I was thinking what I had in my head, because I never looked him up, when I saw him, I was like, that can't be.
Yeah.
But it was.
And a lot of people are pooping all over it.
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. So Thrawn in Rebels
had the high cheekbones. I looked at him, I had the high cheekbones.
Yeah. Like that's the whole thing about it. Very angular. But my thought is this. If you noticed, there were some spots on his uniform, his white uniform, that had some like scuffs and everything like that. Very much not like him. Dude just let himself go. He's been there for 10 years. You know.
Did he though? I don't think he let himself go because
he's a little jowly. He's older. He's
he's blue.
He's blue. He's not Data.
He looks just like him. I posted on our Facebook and Instagram page.
Yeah, well, it's because of the contacts.
No, it's just the hair, his stance, everything about him is robotic. It's just he's not. The actor isn't bad guy material. Like Tarkin, the guy who played Tarkin would have been great as this.
That guy was like 60 pounds, so he's gonna look bony.
But what I'm saying is, he would have been great as this character.
Yeah.
If he was around today.
Yeah.
Just the look on his face fit that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. He looks like a cream puff that's blue. He looks cute, and it's like I don't want cute for a bad guy. I want scary. I want evil. I want.
What do you want?
I want a bad guy that's bad, not a guy that's blue.
Looks bad.
So
I was just saying,
who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy that's blue?
We're talking about Thrawn.
Thrawn, and I'm saying I don't like the actor who plays. I know he's the voiceover in the animated series, but the actor who plays Thrawn is awful.
Yeah.
He's not scary.
Then that might have been looked good when he was younger and he was like skinnier.
Yeah.
That would have really worked.
He's a cream puff.
That's not what he looks like anymore. Now
he's a cream puff in a white.
He's older,
and he looks it looks bad. It just looks bad. Because I was saying to Lee, Will, that when they introduced Thrawn, I was like, that can't be like what I had in my mind because I never looked them up, and what I was introduced to, I was like, bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it. It does not look good. He looks awful. He's not scary. He's not evil. He's robotic. It's ugh.
On the surface, I agree with you. Let's give it an episode or two to find out what he really does. If he's still like this next week or the week after, yeah, we can be full on board with this guy's crap. But for right now,
well, we only have 2 weeks left, so
yeah. Well, listen. If by the end of the season he does something that's blow away, I'll give him his due. Right now, I'm kind of on board with you, but you know what? fair is fair. You and I both said the same thing about Ellie from Last of Us. Neither one of us liked her in the beginning. We both did the same thing. She doesn't look like it. She doesn't play the character the same way, but we both grew. It grew on us. Same thing could be here. On the surface right now, though, I agree with you. I think they could have found somebody that looks a little bit more menacing. Or at least the makeup department could have done something to make him look a little bit more mean.
Right. So here's my biggest problem with this entire season so far is that the show's called Ahsoka. Okay. And the first 2 episodes we got a lot of Ahsoka mixed with Sabine.
Yeah.
The 3rd episode we got a lot of Ahsoka and her training up Sabine and all these things that's going on, and we got a lot of that. Fantastic. We come up to the very, very end of episode 4, and Anakin is introduced. All right. Episode 5, Anakin is now the topic of conversation. Episode 6, Ahsoka is in the mouth of a whale. No one cares about Ahsoka right now. We're talking about Thrawn and about everybody else. So far, in this TV show, we've had 3 episodes of Ahsoka, which were good.
Yeah.
Why is it called Ahsoka? Why isn't it just called, like, Rebels?
Why isn't it called Sabine? Because the whole beginning, it seemed like it was all about Sabine.
Why don't you just call it Rebels Continued, or Rebels 2, or something other than Ahsoka? Because she's barely in it anymore.
I know.
I think the problem is just her character. Because I asked Lee this in the first couple of episodes. Is she supposed to be this subdued and this stoic? And he said yes. Like, she really is. So if that's the case, why give her her own show if there's not really a whole lot of meat on them bones to really...
Because
give her meat on those bones.
Sure. But I'm just saying, like, you're really gonna center a character around somebody who's really not all that interesting.
She's a great side character.
Yes.
If this was a show about Anakin training up Ahsoka and you wanted to call it Ahsoka, fantastic.
Well, you wouldn't be happy because you don't want to see Anakin on your TV ever.
No.
Again.
No. If they went back to that time frame and they did that would be fine. It's the fact that it's after the time frame that makes me mad. But where it's
yeah.
I like the TV show, but it's like I want more when she's actually front and center. And I mean, Rosario Dawson's doing fantastic.
Even when
service.
Look, even when she is front and center, there's not a lot there. Let's be honest. Like, Rosario Dawson's playing the character by what Lee's telling the both of us from what she did in Rebels or Clone Wars or whatever. Rosario Dawson's playing the character really well. My whole thing is maybe this is just not a character that you center a television show around. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot there with her. Like
not a lot of there.
Like, the most interesting thing that she's done so far is fight Anakin. That's the most interesting thing that she's done up until this point. You're right. And now she's in the mouth of a whale.
Woohoo. Like, and then you know what's gonna be next? Is she's gonna get there and she's gonna pick them up, and guess what's gonna happen after that? She's gonna go back into the mouth of a whale and fly back.
I feel like something else is going to happen. Because you said the whales go to die, so obviously until they can't go back. I feel like we're going to get a battle.
So while I was gone, what was the whole verdict on the whole Stormtrooper, Clone Trooper thing?
We were just talking about the theory that they're an army of undead that are being brought back from the.
So if it's an army of undead, why are some of them dead? Didn't he say like we lost a lot of numbers or whatever since we've been here?
Well, because there were only so many that the Night Sisters could bring back, and that was the whole thing. And that's why they're all kind of pieced together and glued together. And I think that was the idea.
So we got witches. We got zombies,
time travel.
We're gonna have vampires next. You watch. This is.
Oh no! Vampires are in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But What
Did
I
you
want to
see it?
know.
Yeah,
I
It was
want to know
fantastic.
what happened to the vegetated Davy Jones that was from Mandalorian that just disappeared. I want that back.
Swamp Thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. He
Yeah.
got blowed up.
Exactly.
What
it
are
was
these?
It was a
What are
shame.
What are these aardvark creatures?
Oh, dude. Okay, I don't care. They can call them howlers all they want, but they are clearly Vornskers.
Okay, good for you.
Huh?
I hate this. I hate this.
Vornskers.
I hate this for all the
Vornskers.
reasons why I hate a Jedi. There's entirely too much cute crap that goes on in Star Wars sometimes, and this is just another one of them.
Okay,
This is
these
the
dogs, these big dogs.
This
Wait a
is
minute,
big dogs are
Chewie.
Vornskers.
This is Chewie and the little whatever chicken things that he was palling around with and felt bad and just had to bring him with him. This is yes.
I
This
can't
is
do it.
this is the
Porgs?
Ewoks, and now we have this.
The little penguin-looking seal birds or whatever.
Remember when he was on the planet and he found a bird and he killed it and he cooked
he's
it
going to eat one,
and he's
the
going
other
to
one
eat it
feels bad,
and the
he's
rest
like,
of his
"Fine, I won't
family's
eat it."
like looking at him with the sad eyes. So he's like, "Oh great, I feel bad," and he like
He
takes
takes
them all with
onto
him
the
on the
Falcon.
Millennium Falcon, and now they're all just a part of his family now.
What movie was this on?
It was one of the
It was one of the
sequels.
sequels.
It was like Last Jedi, the one that
It
was,
was so
all about
stupid.
saving the animals.
It was so
Oh.
stupid. It was so stupid. It was so stupid. And now we have this.
No.
Now we have
So
these
the
creatures
Vornskers, listen.
with backpacks that they don't take off.
Listen, the Vornskers. Oh no, okay, I'm not talking about the snails.
That's what I was talking
That's
about.
what
I'm
he's talking about.
Anteaters? They looked like snails. They were snail people. They were like snail hobbits. That's what they were.
It was stupid.
No,
No, they were like more like snail harfoots
It was so
because they
stupid.
moved from place to place.
It was
The-
so stupid. They're
the reason
scared,
why I was saying
and
that
then
is
they're
'cause
not
their
scared, and then
shells-
they band together, and then they talk, and then they're friends, and now they're gonna move around, and now we have to help them move. Okay, we traveled here in a ship from another galaxy, and we have to help these little whatevers move.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean,
the dog thing that she rides, that's pretty cool.
the
That was
dog things
awesome.
she rides.
That was awesome.
I'm sorry. They can call them howlers all they want, but they're Vornskers.
Okay.
Vornskers were actually like ferocious dogs that were Thrawn's pets. He
So,
had
like-
two of them. I forgot what their names were.
So like it's in a lot of fantasy. It's in Game of Thrones. It's in Lord of the Rings, like direwolves.
Yeah, so these characters were like known, like you don't mess with them, right?
Yes, but
And-
hold on.
and
Before
here,
you continue, I just want to
it's
say
their way of taking legends and like putting in here, just to be like, look, it's a Vornsker. You know, it's that image of DiCaprio going, oh, you know, pointing at the TV. It's like there it is. It's a Vornsker, but it's not. It's a howler. It's a little sad dog that gets upset when she leaves him because he abandoned her.
the
Okay,
howlers,
fine, come on back.
That's
the
cool.
howlers are in Zootopia. But I love the fact that Will can now like refer and look at creatures and say in Lord of the Rings, because a year ago he could not say that.
That's true.
I
Okay.
love that fact.
Okay.
It's you. I still go back for a guy who loves fantasy. I cannot believe it took you this long to watch those movies because
No. We saw Lord of the Rings together.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. Well, we went to it.
Yeah,
You just didn't watch.
that movie watched me. Okay.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So, yes. I mean,
Anyways,
I'm going to say a bunch of stuff about this, and this is the hard thing: is you just.
you've been saying a bunch of this entire time.
I know, because the hard part is like we're finally introducing a character into live action that was originally known for things that are no longer considered canon, and his story was so cool.
okay.
So we've got this character. I really hope that they bring up that the ship is called the Chimera. If it's not, they're going in a different direction. Chimera was an
Mhm.
awesome name for a superstar destroyer. Let's not talk about the.
Chimera
I was just
a-
about to say, when we started this call, you told me a very PG-13 joke, and I'm wondering
It
if
was
you're
not a
gonna
joke. It was
retell
not a
that
joke.
now.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it was very inappropriate how that ship docked on this tower.
It was very phallic looking.
On this tower that also had, like, aside from the appendage, it also had the base parts. It was very inappropriate, and it's just Disney doing Disney. You know,
I thought it was hilarious.
very much. It was very ridiculous.
I think it's hilarious.
Not necessary.
I think it's
I
hilarious.
mean, it was interesting seeing it dock somewhere.
I think
but
it's hilarious.
That was not the docking I expected to see.
Hang on. I think it's hilarious that your mind went there before mine. That's what I find funny.
It wasn't my mind. The thing is, I
didn't even notice
on social media,
I didn't think about it.
On social media, I have a few new pages that I follow that it's all, and now one of them is like Star Wars, Mandalorian, whatever, and everybody's just like, "Look how ridiculous this is," and I'm like, "Yeah, I thought something was off, but I guess I'm not the only one."
I'm just saying.
And
that's a me thing,
look at
not
this
you.
episode on IMDb and look at the second photo that pops up.
It's
right there.
Okay.
It is right there. It is.
Anyways,
It is right there.
we can move on from this.
So, yes. Vornskers die well. Oh yeah. So we get this whole thing where basically, Sabine meets Thrawn. He hasn't seen her in a decade. Oh, nice to see you. Great. But he's like, well, you made a deal. You helped my cause. I'm going to go off and, let you go ahead and do yours. But hey, keep in mind, once I get off this planet, you're stuck here.
Yeah.
Just like I've been.
Bye.
So, peace out.
Kind of feels like
But
that's
the plan.
plan.
Is basically, right.
Leave
once
them
she
there.
finds Ezra, Skull and Hadi are supposed to go out and kill them.
Yep.
And then you find out that he's like, yeah, go ahead and kill Skull and Hadi too. So he's just like, I just want all these people dead.
Yep.
Like make sure they're all dead. I love that he gets really upset at Morgan too. It's like, yeah, well, you get Ahsoka. It's like, this wouldn't be Ahsoka Tano by any chance, would it? Who might be coming? You said she was dead. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. End of the line. I want to know everything about her past, her master. I need your dark magic.
Yes. Yep. Need your dark magic. But he basically said, I thought it was beyond you to underestimate a Jedi. Death and resurrection are common deceptions played out by Night Sister and Jedi. And she's like, yeah, well, Balin said she was gone and done. He's like, yeah, well, Balin was once a Jedi, so we should regard him as flawed.
Back up.
He's just like...
Back up. What was that line again?
Which one?
You know the one.
I thought it was beyond you to underestimate a Jedi.
Next
Death
one.
And resurrections are common deceptions.
There you go.
Played out by Night Sister and Jedi.
And Jedi. There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
So who's not dead?
Who's not dead?
Who's
Everybody.
coming back?
Everybody's coming back, man. They're all coming back.
Well, no.
Coming back.
But here's what I don't understand.
No. I want to say one thing, then I'm going to let you
understand.
go. I want to say one thing, then I'll let you go. This is the MacGuffin. This line is the MacGuffin.
Yep.
We can do anything we want now. This line gives Disney free privilege to do whatever they want with any Jedi. Resurrections on the table. Not dead, hiding somewhere on the table.
They bring Yoda back.
Maybe.
But they're
maybe.
gonna first.
They can bring Yoda back.
They're gonna first.
They brought the Emperor back.
That was clone.
It doesn't matter. They brought him back. Okay, even better. That was a clone, not the real one.
Oh,
There you go.
No,
there you
the
go.
clone. Unless
This
the clone
line-
died in return.
This line pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
This is
hate
what happens
this.
when Disney takes over MCU, when Disney takes over Star Wars, when Disney takes over Indiana Jones.
I'm still at odds with Chuck. I love what they did with Anakin. I still love what they did with Anakin last week.
It really was great.
I thought it was fantastic. I'm always going to think it's fantastic.
Did you see the image of him? Like, I guess he was doing like a, some kind of conversation.
That was
a
a couple of years ago. Don't let that deceive you. I know what you're talking about when he was crying.
When he started crying.
That was a couple of years ago. Okay. I guess they had seen something that he did for like Kenobi or whatever, and it was like a presentation for that, and they all thought that he did a really good job. So he got like a standing ovation, and he got really emotional, and he felt welcome back, which was a great story at the time for what it was, and it's a great story now. And I'm glad that Hayden Christensen is getting his flowers on social media. I'm super happy for him. Still happy with last week's episode. This line, death and resurrection, deception, Jedi.
Yeah.
No one's dead. No one's gonna stay dead. None of them are gonna stay dead.
And Jedi. Didn't say Sith. He said Night Sister and Jedi.
It's the same thing.
And
It's the
that's
same
the other
thing.
thing. The cool thing about this is the Night Sisters were on Dathomir. So were the Dathomirans or whatever. Basically what Darth Maul was, which is a play as to why Sidious took Darth Maul as an apprentice, as an acolyte, basically, and brought him in. Because he wanted to get some taste of that dark magic that he didn't have as a Sith.
Good for the dark magic.
So it's really interesting now that we've got like these two dark sides of the Force, and then you've got the light side. So they're starting to intertwine other things into it more and explain, in a live action setting, the Force can be wielded by multiple different people as long as they're focusing on it this way or that way. And I think the reality goes to anything. If you're thinking about even religion, where look at a Christian who's like, somebody's talking about witch stuff around a Christian, and it's not that a Christian doesn't believe in what the witches are talking about. Oh, no, we straight up understand what's going on. It is real, and that's why we're concerned about it. Not Israel, but it is real. And we're understanding, like, no, that's a reality. They are wielding it and doing things in a way that is not accurate. There is I wouldn't say a fear, because we know our truth and, the reality. But
we're getting pretty far away from the topic at hand, and we're not going to agree at all the further you go down this road. I want to bring it back to the dialogue. I want to bring it back to the dialogue and kind of get off of you desperately looking for something to love right now, because that's what you're doing. You're ignoring the elephant in the room, and you're like, I have to like this. I have to state why I like this. I have to list all the things why I like this. That's all you're doing right now. There's a giant elephant in the room. There's a massive MacGuffin where they can do anything they want now, and you're ignoring it because you gotta like this and you gotta like that and you gotta go through this backstory and that backstory and you're gonna talk about this over here and this is relevant and this is from this and this is from Rebels and this is from... No, it's all out the window right now. This entire show, with the exception of last week, this entire show was made to shoehorn this into it. The Dark Sisters, this place of magic. You got the witch talking about, I can hear you across space and time. And now you have the ultimate resurrections or a deception of the Jedi. No. I'm noping out there.
We knew this was happening.
No, not this.
We knew that as soon as Marvel, which was owned by Disney, incorporated time travel, we're like, they can do whatever they want. And then we knew that as soon as Star Wars started doing stuff like this, they could do whatever we want.
Not like this.
And my concern is that we might run into another issue right now where Will may not be with us.
I just want to say this. I want to clear something up. I think that Hayden Christensen did a fantastic job in last week's episode. I think that for him to come back and do the acting that he did comparative to who he was as Anakin in the prequel trilogies, this was night and day difference. Mm-hmm. I think the sword play was fantastic. I thought the special effects were fantastic. I thought the special effects in this episode with the whales going through hyperspace was junk. It looked awful. However, the only part that ruined last week for me is the fact that Anakin was dead. That ruins everything. And this episode here is what proves my point.
I don't know.
That he's
I don't know if
all resurrections are
yeah, I don't know.
I said it last week. No more resurrections this time, and then resurrections. Maybe
I cut out when I was trying to say it, but my whole point about my whole little spiel about you're just looking for something to love right now, man. This entire show was made to shoehorn this in.
Yeah.
this concept. The Night Sisters, across space and time, resurrections, dark magic.
No resurrection.
This special mythical place that has power.
If Thrawn says no
This is-
resurrections this time, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Not gonna happen.
So if what you're saying, right? So hold on. So if what you're saying, if these stormtroopers, clone troopers, wherever they are basically the undead, then Thrawn is Captain Barbossa.
Maybe. Whose coins did they steal? I don't know. Maybe
So
maybe
wait a
that's where all
minute.
the gold came from.
small little side thing I gotta go. What's your problem with Pirates of the Caribbean?
Mine?
Yeah, I've asked you before, but you've never like.
I like the first three. The last two are junk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Everybody knows Stranger Tides was just.
Well,
a
no,
slap in
because
the
this
face
isn't
to any
the first time
viewer.
I've heard you kind of dog on Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm not. Really...
I wasn't dogging on it. I was saying that Thrawn in this, if
Doggone
the stormtroopers are the undead in this, then Thrawn is Captain Barbossa.
I would not besmirch the name of Captain Barbossa for this. I'm sorry.
Well, it's the same. It's the same concept.
No, it's not. Well, yes, it is. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, it is.
I'm just
only
saying,
if they're of the
Barbossa is a
undead.
much better character than this.
Oh, of course,
I'm sorry.
of course.
And Jeffrey,
of
what's his
course.
name? What's his last name?
Jeffrey
Geoff?
Rush.
Jeffrey Rush.
Is it
Jeffrey
Geoff or
Rush.
Jeffrey?
It's
Jeffrey
Jeffrey.
Rush.
It's Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Rush.
It's spelled
Yes.
Geoff, isn't it?
Yes,
It's
that's how you spell Jeffrey.
Jeff. It's one of the ways you spell.
Well, it's
Jeffrey.
one of the ways you spell Jeffrey.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen it both, and I've heard it pronounced two different ways, and it usually goes with the spelling, so that's why I'm asking. So it's spelled like
Yep.
Geoff, but it's pronounced Jeffrey.
Yes.
Geoff. It's
Geoff.
Jeffrey.
Whatever.
Jeffrey.
Geoff. No, he was fantastic. Are you kidding me?
Okay, good.
All right.
I'm about to say, if you're going to start knocking on Barbossa, we're going to have a lot
What
of problems.
are you doing?
I thought he was fantastic in that.
I loved him.
Curse of the Black Pearl.
I loved him in that movie.
Piece of apple, like he was fantastic. And then when he gets brought back in for the third movie, you're like, yes.
You better get used to fairy tales. You're in one.
Yes.
I hated the fact that he marries them. That was like in the middle of this like giant. Speaking of that, did you see that? Did you see
was
the video
perfect.
that they put on Facebook where they said if everything was Star Wars and they bring in the final battle in Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're on the two boats. They're on the two boats, and then you have Will fighting Barbossa. No, he's fighting Davy Jones. And their swords become lightsabers, and everybody has lightsabers, and they're just and the cannons are going off, but they're the actual blasters from like it's so cool. Whoever put that together did a really good job because you can't tell that it was actually spliced in over the actual props that were there. But no, another movie that did a trilogy, and then they had to add more just because. Why? Because Jack Sparrow.
But
just leave it. Just do the trilogy and leave it. I'm willing to bet if they just. I saw it. Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I'm willing to bet if they just did the original 6 movies, the original 3, then the first 3 to catch us up on, and they left it there, we would all be so much more happier.
So we've talked about this before. I've brought it up multiple times. The reason why I got into Star Wars was because it was
less.
It was less. It was simple. It wasn't overly saturated. And as soon as Disney started eyeing Star Wars and Force Awakens and all that stuff happened, it was just like I knew it was going to go way beyond. I mean, they had the kids shows. I'm like, okay, it's kids shows. Doesn't matter. And then Disney came in, made everything uncanon. And I'm like, oh, you're going to take all this stuff and make this canon, so we have to watch everything else, just like they did with all these little spin-off and these TV shows with the MCU. So now you cannot watch anything without having watched everything that's ever come out from that franchise. It's ruining it's ruining IPs. It's ruining things for us where we can't just enjoy a little bit and just be like, oh yeah, you can jump in and catch this and catch that. Now you have to have seen everything. And it's trying to make us all couch potatoes. It's turning us into, the world from Wall-E. We're just gonna sit there and be fat, scooting around on these little hover chairs and not know how to read.
And the
Manuel,
robots will do everything for us.
Yeah, I do. You're right, because to be able to go in and watch a movie in the MCU, if you haven't watched it like the ones before it,
right?
You're gonna be like, "What's going on?"
You can't go into
Yeah.
Avengers and not having seen like everything else. You have no idea what's going on. You don't
You
care.
could watch the Avengers as a 4-part saga and be okay.
I suppose.
You would miss
Yeah,
a
but even
lot,
still,
though.
the first one, you need to have that background. You need to know who Tony Stark is and why he is. Like, this guy's a jerk. He's like, yeah, but he was a much bigger jerk before. Now he's less of a jerk because he's fighting for the right reasons. Like, you kind of have to get that. I mean, Iron Man started the whole thing. And it was a really cool thing they did, but then they just kept going and they made shows.
I'm on
No, that's not part of the MCU.
I will say that if you're gonna watch the first Avengers, even if you're gonna watch it as a 4-part series, you at the very least need the first Iron Man. Well, you need the first Iron Man, and I would say you need the first Avenger. You need the first Captain America movie.
Yes,
and the first Thor, minimum.
Yeah,
you could.
It helps to understand Loki, to understand who Loki is.
He drank beer.
Yeah, you kind of.
All Thor did in that movie was drink a bunch of beer. That's all I remember. He went to a bar. He drank beer. He fell in love. He picked up his hammer and he left.
I am worthy.
Good for him. Anyways. Yeah.
I'm just getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just go back to I want to see more of Ahsoka. I want to see her actually do something. I think overall the show is great. I'm mad that they're gonna start bringing back dead people.
Yeah, I could have done without this dialogue. I could have done without this.
Yeah.
This was the when I was watching it, I actually had to stop and walk away and say, "Yep, that's it. This is it. Here we go. Here we go."
Well, you remember that feeling when we all watched Doctor Strange together? And we watched the movie and we were like, what did we just watch? Because that's not at all what we were expecting.
Neat.
When Thrawn entered the scene, I was like, that's the same feeling. I was like, that is not at all what I was expecting. It was garbage.
I kind of was.
It was garbage.
I'm holding on. I'm optimistic. Maybe I think the character will kind of turn around.
I hope if it does, I will walk all of this back.
Okay.
But I'm saying the initial feeling I got when he walked on scene, I was like, huh? It's like when you're watching the original trilogy and you hear Vader talk about the Emperor and how he's not as forgiving as I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Emperor comes on scene for the first time down his ship. You're like, ooh ho ho, this guy's ominous. This guy's intense. You don't get that with Thrawn, and Thrawn's supposed to be even crazier from what you're saying.
I think,
and it's like, no.
I'm hoping it's because he's like toying with them right now and not really going full Thrawn. I really hope that's it. Like, I hope he's just using this as a way to get information, because Thrawn is the most tactical and like genius admiral that's been in the Empire.
Yeah, but being tactical doesn't mean that you're evil, and everyone makes it sound like he is the big bad. You can be tactical and
I know.
I said I'm optimistic. I still am, but I will say that our introduction to him is kind of lackluster.
Yes.
He's listening to these sisters who could not find Ezra, and now they're taking away the wrong person that they mistakenly think is the dangerous Jedi.
Which that's interesting. These super powerful beings, including this intelligent person, can't find Ezra, but this
Can I ask a question about that?
Finds him.
Did you guys, for a split second at all, think that Sabine was doing anything when she had her hand out?
No,
No.
nothing.
I love how they try to play it like she was,
She did
and then
nothing.
even she was surprised, and,
I think
and then
Chuck-
you're like, oh no, it's
Yeah, that
just
was the episode.
Chimera
That was
coming
the
over.
episode that you weren't even around for when Chuck and I did it, and we were wondering why did the camera focus on the cup for like an extra 10 seconds when she walked away. It was a really weird thing.
to see if the cup would like move after.
But it didn't. It
That's
did
what I
nothing.
said.
Yeah, and it did nothing. No, and that's the whole point. It's like you have no power here. Like that's what they're. That's it. Like she's got no power.
She's nothing.
And I'm wondering, are they gonna do something where suddenly she has power and she's like another Rey, or just like
No.
shows up for no reason?
She's the thing that she has is she's a good fighter.
Yeah, because she's a
no,
Mandalorian.
No. We'll talk about people just being able to show up and do things in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. How about like Finn grabbing a lightsaber and using it? Because
no sense.
we've never seen a non-Force user pick up a lightsaber, but then again, you've got Sabine. So they're totally just taking away from what made the Jedi and the Sith. Like,
Well,
you know,
in the
special.
beginning, in the original trilogy, before anything else came
You
out.
mean a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
Yes. When the original trilogy came out, the theory that went around was the only way to turn on the lightsaber
Yeah, that was a dumb theory.
was using the Force.
Yeah.
It was the best theory until everything else came into play because nobody saw you pushing a button.
Right, I suppose. Did you...
The theory was
you ever
okay to
see
go.
this?
The theory was okay to kind of go away in that moment because it was like, it's Luke. Your father is Anakin, so naturally it is just like an innate gift that you have.
Now,
Things were
did you
fine when it was just that.
Did you guys see what I sent you? The Obi-Wan recalling Anakin's stupidity.
Oh,
Did you watch that? Okay, well I'm gonna share it here because it's relevant. We're talking about the whole lightsaber scene, but basically when Obi-Wan Kenobi first gives Luke the lightsaber,
Before the Empire.
it's relevant.
don't do this. Don't do that. I can't.
My father died.
Listen,
Well, you see, your father was a very stupid man, Luke. His biggest mistake was not reading The Art of War before I chopped him into pieces and had a barbecue after. Your smooth-brained father was never really the brightest. He used to repeatedly tell me how much he hated sand, and funnily enough, I ended up chopping him up on a beach and left him laying in the sand. Your father really was the dumbest man I believe I've ever met. Well, maybe not anymore after meeting you. You seem to be quite the idiot yourself. Oh, yeah, and you also have a twin sister, but she's on the other side of the galaxy, and you'll never meet her unless you decide to go on some crazy crusade with a space pirate. Have a good life.
there we go, and that's the end of Star Wars.
Send that to me.
I did send it to you.
Okay, good.
It's in the thread.
Okay.
So the point is, like, that's the first time we saw the lightsaber open up. This kid knew nothing about anything, and he just lit it right up. Now, you remember, if you recall that first initial scene, he's holding the lightsaber towards his face, staring at the hole. And there have been many, many YouTube videos of him just turning it on, and he's like, "Oh, well, I guess you're dead."
End of Star Wars,
That's
right
it.
there.
The story never gets going.
The other end of Star Wars I saw is when Dooku actually says, before he gets his head shoved off, "Hey, he's actually Palpatine's actually the Sith Lord, and he wants you to kill me because I'm the only evidence." And then he explains the entire thing, and then Anakin turns and looks at Palpatine, and it's like, da-da, da-da, brought to you by George Lucas. Like, that's the end. It's like, man, if he just outed him right then and there, that would have been the end. Nope, here we go. But there's so much that could have been just, like, avoided if just, like, a couple lines of dialogue were there. But here we are. So I'm going to say that we're pretty much tapped out on this episode.
Yeah.
The reality is there's a lot of stuff in here that we wish to see more. We wish it wasn't as lame. We're seeing all these MacGuffins here.
Whoa. We wish to see more.
We wish that we saw more. We wanted to see more of Thrawn being Thrawn that we've all heard of as the big bad. And we're not seeing that.
No. I want to see more of Ahsoka.
I want to see more of
exactly.
Ahsoka.
More of Ahsoka.
That's it.
Yeah, more of Thrawn being
I
Thrawn.
don't care about Thrawn that much right now. I'm going to be honest.
Well, this has been leading up to since when? When was Ahsoka introduced? Was that in the second season of Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she brought up where's Grand Admiral Thrawn with Morgan Elsbeth. All this time went by. We finally see Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he's this, old saggy jowly dude.
Old
and
saggy.
He's just not living. Well, I'm just gonna say he's no offense to the dude, but he's not who he looked like years ago, and does not match up with what we knew about these gaunt, looking Chiss characters. He's a Chiss. That's the name.
He's
of the...
Data. Both blue skin versus gold. He looks just like him. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is by far the worst episode of the season.
You said that last time.
That was last time. Now this episode tops that one.
Ah.
No, last week's episode was great.
The dialogue for me makes this one bad.
Yeah.
It is unsettling, to say the least.
Everything about last week's episode is great except for the one thing. That's the only thing that ruins it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, great. So, with that being said,
we'll see where it goes.
I hope so. If
we're still gonna watch it.
If they
we're still gonna talk about it.
If Admiral Thrawn is offed by the end of this season,
oh, that's super lame. After all this time, finally seeing him in live action, they just kill him like Snoke.
He's offed. He's offed by a resurrected Jedi.
If Rian Johnson shows up and
writes
directs the next one,
writes the last episode.
Yes. Then I'm out.
You watch Ezra kills him.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right, everybody.
So I'm actually
okay. You got more?
What were you gonna say, Jack?
So I'm actually not about Ahsoka, but about Star Wars. So I finished the game Jedi Survivor.
Ooh, you survived.
Which is part 2 of the new Star Wars. It's gonna be a Star Wars trilogy. They're gonna do a third one soon.
Oh, which is relevant. There's a scene in this where they're standing up in front of these doors that have symbols and stuff on them. It's the same one that's in the Jedi Survivor game.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I think he does go to this planet at some point. Pridia, did you hear about it?
No.
Okay, because it's shown in
he goes to
side by side image.
He goes to another galaxy. He does go to another galaxy in this game.
Mm.
Well, it's another planet. It's in the same. It's just and he doesn't fly by whale. He flies by ship. But you guys are you guys gonna ever play the game or no?
Well, yeah, if I ever have time.
So
I'm in the middle of 4 different games. The first one being one of them.
So I just beat it and I'm playing it again because they actually give you more perks if you play it again. So I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be really cool.
Just beat it.
But
no, just
there are.
Just eat it.
So you become a Jedi Knight in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Your master in this game, there's a fight scene. Her name's Seer, and there's a part where your main character Cal Kestis he goes away because his best friend turns on him or something, and you're now playing her, and she has to face Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most insane battles you will ever go through. It's better in the game. So remember that feeling when you first saw Darth Vader in Rogue One?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So you're fighting him, and it's an intense battle. And all of a sudden, there's this bookshelf, and she force grabs the bookshelf and throws it on him, and there's fire everywhere, and it's burning up because the whole building's burning down. And all of a sudden, she gets force pushed, and then he stands up, and his cape is half burnt, and you see parts of his uniform is all on fire. And she turns her lightsaber on, and she force jumps to go jab him, and all of a sudden he instead of her force jumping, he force chokes her and then brings her to her, and her lightsaber goes through right in between his arm and his chest, and then his goes right through her and just kills her. It is one of the best fight scenes I've seen in Star Wars. And let me tell you this.
You should have started this with spoiler alert. Thanks a lot.
No, because you're not. This is just plopped in the middle. It has nothing to do with the actual game.
Would have been great to see firsthand. but
You're gonna.
now I'm gonna have high expectations, so it better be the best thing I've ever seen in a game.
I think
will be
somebody
pretty
should take
cool.
their own advice for spoiler alerts.
I was just gonna say. So, episode in season 3, this still doesn't happen. So
You kind of had
but
that
it's-
one coming, Lee. I'm sorry.
Whatever.
But just for this is one of the best Star Wars fight scenes I've seen in a long time, and what they're doing with these 2 games is better than anything Disney is doing with Star
Oh
Wars
yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
It's by
course.
far the story is better.
Yeah,
It's fantastic. It's phenomenal.
it's good stuff.
So
Good stuff.
that's all I wanted to say.
Like video game stories usually are a lot better than a lot of other things that are out there. Any gamer will tell you that. I'll tell you that.
I'd say the past decade we've
Yes.
seen some games that have actually just blown away anything that the main franchise mediums have.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at like Ghostbusters, when the Ghostbusters game came out back in, geez, when was that? 2010.
It was a long
the
time
one
ago.
for PS3.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic story, and it picks up after 2.
All of
And
the
it tells us a fantastic story. Then they had that stupid Ghostbusterettes movie that came out that was just a slap in the face, and it's like, why did we get what was in the game?
I don't know if you played any, but all of those Telltale games, like Telltale Walking Dead series.
Telltale was awesome.
I don't know why they went out of business. They went broke, but they were
Back to the Future game.
Yes,
was
that
fantastic.
one too.
Walking Dead,
Yeah.
Batman,
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, all of them were really great
Yes.
games, great stories. The gameplay was, it was Telltale. It was more story driven than
And
like
you have to
action
push
or
you have to
anything.
push a button to like
You are controlling it, yeah, but it's mostly story than it is.
The
right, but
story-
you're controlling it in the sense of it gives you 3 different responses, and then you can pick which response and which
Right.
storyline to take it in.
Right.
The storyline in Arkham Asylum, how they all break out, fantastic story. Fantastic story. I loved it.
Totally. So
So-
good.
I'm sorry, as good as Last of Us was from HBO, the story in the game
Is
Way
10
better.
times
way
better.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yes.
And that's the thing is like we're talking. I mean, we don't talk about games very often because gaming takes a lot more
And this is
investment.
the weird thing about gaming is this is coming from a medium that in 1998, 97 was it? The first Resident Evil came out with the worst voice acting in the history of anything. If you ever get bored, just look up a couple of cutscenes from that game. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's laughable. It's
When did
laughably
Resident Evil 2
bad.
come out? I thought that was Resident Evil 2 in '97.
BioShock, which was Resident Evil in Japan, came out for the Sega Saturn, and I want to say 95? 4?
Okay. Yep.
So 2 might have been 7?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You said
3?
97 for Resident Evil.
Well, Resident Evil on the PlayStation came out in 97 in the States.
Yeah.
I think maybe they both came out around the same time. I think it was like 97, 98, 99.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, we're done.
games, movies, shows, stuff.
Yes.
Fun things.
Good stuff.
Well, it's been fun.
Let's talk
It's
about
been
people
real.
doing things for no reason. Let's get into this other thing that we got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys next week where we talk about episode 7 of Ahsoka.
7, tight,
7!
tight.
Tight. Hey, want some popcorners, by the way? We're
No.
not sponsored. All right, see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Hey everybody, Lee from Black and White Reviews here. Just want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in, checking out our conversation. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more about this specific subject or other things, check us out on our podcasting sites, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Podcasts. We're up on pretty much all of them. So yeah, thanks again for popping by, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.